She woke to the sound of the door slamming so hard the walls shook. Not the front door, the bedroom door. Her heart jumped before her body caught up. She pushed herself upright, one hand pressing against her stomach, as the baby kicked, sharp and sudden, as if startled too. "Chidi," she called. No answer. She swung her legs down and stood. Her balance felt off these days. The room looked half-emptied. His wardrobe gaped open. Hangers swayed like they had been shoved aside in anger. A suitcase lay on the bed, already zipped. She walked into the hallway. He was there, pulling on his shoes, jaw tight, eyes fixed on the floor. "What is happening?" she asked. He exhaled, slow and heavy, like a man rehearsing patience. "I am late. We will talk." "You packed," she said. Her voice did not rise. That scared her more than if it had. "Where are you going?" He straightened. For a moment he looked at her the way he used to, when her presence softened him. Then something closed behind his eyes. "I cannot do this any more," he said. The words landed but made no sound. She waited, as if there must be more. "You are leaving?" she asked. "Yes." She stared at him. "Today?" He nodded. "I have thought about it for months." "For months?" Her hand slid down her belly, slow, protective. "While I was carrying your child?" He flinched. "Do not do that." "Do what?" "Make me the villain," he said. "I am just choosing stability." She almost laughed. It came out like a breath. "Stability," she repeated. "You know what I mean," he said. "We are always struggling, always waiting, always hoping. I am tired of hoping." She stepped closer. "So you leave me pregnant?" "I will still support," he said quickly. "I am not heartless." She looked into his face, searching for something familiar. "Support how?" He hesitated. That was answer enough. "Say it," she said. "I will help when I can." "When you can," she repeated. "Not when we need." He grabbed his bag. "You are twisting this." She shook her head. "No, I am finally hearing it clearly." There was a silence, thick and awkward. The baby kicked again. She winced. He noticed. "Are you okay?" "Yes," she said. "The baby is reminding me I am not alone." He looked away. "I did not plan this pregnancy," he said. "You know that." "I know," she replied, "but I chose it. I chose us." He swallowed. "I cannot raise a child in uncertainty." "So you will raise none at all?" He did not answer. She stepped aside to let him pass. "Go," she said, "before you start lying to yourself again." He paused at the door. His voice dropped. "You will be fine." She met his eyes. "You are leaving because you think I will not be." That struck him. His lips parted, then closed. He opened the door and left. The house fell into a quiet so deep it rang in her ears. She stood there long after his footsteps faded, one hand on the door frame, the other on her stomach. "I am here," she whispered to the child. "I am still here." Days blurred after that. She moved through them slowly, deliberately, as if any sudden motion might shatter what little balance she had left. She ate when she remembered, slept when exhaustion forced her. She told no one at first. Shame felt heavy, though she could not explain why. When she finally called her mother, the phone rang unanswered. She tried again the next day. Still nothing. Her mother had always been distant. Not cruel, just unreachable. They spoke once every few months, polite conversations filled with weather and health updates. Love existed, she believed, but it lived behind locked doors. A week later, the call came. The number was unfamiliar. "Is this Adaeze Okori?" a man asked. "Yes," she said. "My name is Mr. Lawson. I am calling regarding your mother." Her knees buckled. She sat. "I am sorry," he said. "She passed away 2 days ago." The world tilted. "Passed?" she whispered. "How?" "Peacefully," he replied. "There will be arrangements. We will need to meet." Adaeze hung up and stared at the wall. She had imagined many conversations with her mother. None like this. At the burial, she stood alone. No husband by her side. No hand to steady her. People she did not recognize approached her with careful eyes. "You are her daughter," they said, not as a question. "Yes." "She spoke of you," one woman said softly. Adaeze smiled, faint and unsure. "She did?" The woman nodded. "Often." That night she cried for the mother she never fully knew, and the man who had walked away believing he had escaped a sinking ship. A week later, a letter arrived. Heavy paper, no return address. She opened it slowly. It requested her presence at a law firm in Lagos. Urgent. Personal. The office was quiet, polished, intimidating. 3 men waited. One stood when she entered. "Mrs. Okori," he said, offering a seat. "Please accept our condolences." "Thank you," she replied. "There are matters concerning your mother's estate," he said. Estate. The word felt wrong. "She did not have much," Adaeze said. "I know that." Exchanged looks. "Your mother was a very private woman," one said. "What we are about to discuss must remain confidential." Her chest tightened. "You are scaring me." "Do not be afraid," the first man said, "but understand this will take time." He slid a document across the table. "Your mother left behind assets valued at approximately $20 billion. Adaeze laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. "You have the wrong person." "We do not," he said calmly. She pushed the paper back. "This is not possible." "There is a trust," he continued. "It is locked." "Locked?" "Yes," he said, "until the birth of your first child." Her breath caught. Her hand flew to her stomach. "Why?" she asked. "Your mother believed inheritance should follow legacy," he said, "not entitlement." The room felt too small. Her ears rang. "When?" she asked. "When does it unlock?" "After delivery," he replied. "Verification will follow." She stood abruptly. "I need air." Outside, the city roared, indifferent. Adaeze leaned against the wall, shaking. Her phone buzzed. A message from Chidi. "I heard about your mother. I'm sorry." She stared at the screen, then turned it off. He had no idea, and for the first time since he left, she realized she did not owe him the truth. Weeks passed. Adaeze said nothing to anyone about the meeting, not even to the few friends who checked in on her. She carried the knowledge like a fragile glass bowl, careful not to tilt it too much. The lawyers had advised silence, not secrecy driven by fear, but patience driven by structure. The money was real, the documents were real, the condition was real, and so was her pregnancy. Every night she lay on her side, one hand resting on her stomach, listening to her own breathing. "You were planned," she whispered to the baby, "just not by him." Across the city, Chidi was settling into his new life. It looked good on the surface. The apartment was cleaner, quieter. The woman he had chosen, Amaka, liked order. She liked schedules. She liked knowing what came next. "You did the right thing," she told him one evening as they ate dinner. "You cannot build a future on uncertainty." He nodded, though the words did not settle the way he expected. "Yes, exactly." Still, some nights he woke up uneasy. He would stare at the ceiling, thinking of Adaeze's calm face when he left. She had not cried. That bothered him more than tears would have. One afternoon he decided to call her. She answered after the third ring. "Adaeze," he said. "How are you?" "I am fine," she replied. The distance in her voice unsettled him. "I wanted to check on you, on the baby." "The baby is growing," she said, "as babies do." Silence stretched. "I heard you went to Lagos," he said. "Yes." "For the burial?" "Yes." Another pause. "You did not tell me." "There was nothing to tell," she replied. He cleared his throat. "I can come by." If you need anything. She thought of the lawyer's words. Let things unfold. I am okay, she said. Truly. He wanted to argue, but something in her tone closed the door. All right, he said. Take care. You too, she replied, and ended the call. Months later, her belly had grown round and heavy. Strangers smiled at her in the market. Women offered unsolicited advice. Eat more vegetables. Do not stress yourself. Men will always disappoint, one woman muttered, passing by. Adaeze smiled politely and kept walking. She moved to a smaller apartment closer to a hospital the lawyers had recommended. Everything was paid for quietly through accounts she was not allowed to touch but could benefit from. Still, she lived simply. She cooked, she cleaned, she read. Sometimes fear crept in. What if something goes wrong? She asked one night, alone in the dark. The baby responded with a kick. She laughed softly. Okay. Message received. As her due date approached, the lawyers checked in more frequently. You will need to sign after delivery, Mr. Lawson said during one visit. Nothing before. I understand, Adaeze replied. Do you want anyone notified? He asked. She shook her head. No. The labor started early in the morning. Sharp pain, sudden, real. She called the hospital. They were ready. In the delivery room, she breathed through the contractions, gripping the rails. A nurse held her hand. You are doing well, the nurse said. I have to, Adaeze replied through clenched teeth. There is no one else. Hours later, the cry filled the room. Loud, strong, alive. Tears streamed down her face as they placed the baby on her chest. Hello, she whispered. You made it. A nurse smiled. He is perfect. In that moment, nothing else mattered. Not the money, not the past. Just the weight of her child and the warmth of his breath against her skin. 3 days later, while she slept, the world shifted. Accounts unlocked. Trusts activated. Phone lines buzzed. She woke to Mr. Lawson standing quietly by the window. It is done, he said. She nodded slowly. Okay. Your mother planned this carefully, he continued. She believed you would need strength before power. Adaeze looked down at her son. She was right. News did not break immediately. Wealth of that scale moved like tectonic plates, slow but unstoppable. But whispers began. Across the city, Chidi sat in a cafe scrolling through his phone when he froze. Wait, he muttered. Amaka leaned over. What? He turned the screen toward her. Look, a financial article, a name, Adaeze Okorie. Amaka frowned. That is your ex-wife? Yes, he said, his mouth dry. The article spoke of trusts, legacy, and a fortune that had quietly transferred control. How much? Amaka asked. He scrolled. His hands trembled. $20 billion, he whispered. The cafe noise faded. His chest tightened. That must be a mistake, Amaka said quickly. Are you sure it is her? He stared at the screen. The photo confirmed it. Adaeze, older now, stronger, holding a child. The date beneath the article burned into his mind, activated after the birth of her first child. His legs gave way. He sat heavily. I left, he said, barely audible. I left right before. Amaka's face hardened. What does this have to do with you now? He did not answer. That night he could not sleep. He replayed every moment, every word he had used to justify his decision. Stability, certainty. He had chosen comfort over character and called it wisdom. He dialed Adaeze's number with shaking fingers. It rang. Once, twice. She answered. Yes, she said. I need to see you, he said, his voice breaking. Please. There was a pause. We can talk, she replied calmly. Tomorrow, at noon. When the call ended, he sat in the dark, realizing something too late. She had not won anything. He had simply lost. The next day, Chidi arrived early. He sat in his car across the street from the cafe, watching the entrance like a man waiting for judgment. His palms were damp. His heart would not slow down. When Adaeze arrived, he almost did not recognize her. She walked carefully, but with assurance. The baby carrier was strapped to her chest. Her shoulders were straight. Her face looked calmer than he remembered, not softer, but settled. She saw him and nodded once, then walked inside. He followed. They sat across from each other. For a few seconds, neither spoke. "You look well," he finally said. She adjusted the carrier. "So do you." That stung more than silence would have. "I did not know," he said quickly. "About the money. About your mother. About any of it." "I know," she replied. "If I had known—" He stopped. The sentence collapsed under its own weight. She looked at him then, really looked. "You would have stayed." "Yes," he said without hesitation. She nodded slowly. "That is exactly why you would not have deserved to." The words were not sharp. They were clear. That made them worse. "I did not leave because I did not love you," he said. "I left because I was afraid." "I know," she said again. "You could have told me," he said, desperation creeping into his voice. "You knew before the baby was born. You could have said something." "I could not," she replied. "The trust forbade it. But even if it did not, I would not have." "Why?" "Because the moment you walked out that door," she said, "you showed me who you were when things were unclear." He swallowed. "People make mistakes." "Yes," she agreed, "but character decides which mistakes we justify." The baby stirred. Adaeze gently rocked him. "He is beautiful," Chidi said softly. "He is," she replied. "His name is Keen." "My son," Chidi whispered. "Our son," she corrected, "and that matters." Hope flickered in his chest. "Then maybe we can start again." "For him?" She shook her head. "No." He leaned forward. "Why not?" "Because I already started again," she said. "You just were not part of it." His breath hitched. "I am sorry." "I believe you," she replied. "But sorry does not rebuild trust. Time does. And I no longer have time to wait for someone to become ready." Silence settled between them. "I will support him," Chidi said quietly. "In any way you allow." She nodded. "That is all I ask." He looked at her, really looked, and finally understood the weight of what he had lost. Not money, not access, partnership. She stood, adjusted the carrier, and paused. "One more thing," she said. "Yes?" he asked, hope rising again. "You left because you thought stability lived somewhere else," she said. "I found it inside myself." She walked away. Chidi remained seated long after she left, the truth settling in layers. He had not been unlucky. He had been impatient. In the weeks that followed, the world learned her name. Articles multiplied. Interviews were requested. Analysts speculated. The fortune was discussed in numbers too large to feel real. Adaeze declined most appearances. She focused on building systems, not spectacle. Schools, clinics, quiet investments that spoke for themselves. At night she held her son and whispered stories to him. "Your grandmother believed in strength," she said softly. "She believed in waiting, and she believed in you before you were even born." Sometimes, when the house was quiet, she allowed herself to think of the past, not with bitterness, with clarity. Across the city, Chidi watched her from a distance, not physically, but through news, through silence, through the space he could no longer cross. Amaka left eventually. The stability he chased had been borrowed, not built. He learned too late that certainty without loyalty was fragile. Adaeze never spoke badly of him. When asked in interviews, she simply said, "We chose different paths." And that was true. If this story held you until now, take a moment to like the video. It helps more than you think. Subscribe for more stories like this. Years passed, not loudly, not in headlines, but in routines. Adaeze learned the weight of responsibility long before the world learned her net worth. Wealth did not arrive as freedom. It arrived as obligation. Every decision carried echoes. Every signature affected lives she would never meet. Still, she kept her mornings simple. She woke before dawn. She fed Keen herself when she could. She watched him learn the world one small discovery at a time. "Mama," he said one morning, reaching for her face with clumsy fingers. "Yes," she whispered, pressing her forehead to his. "I am here." Those words grounded her more than any balance sheet ever could. Chidi kept his distance as promised. He sent support regularly. He asked about Kine through careful messages, never pushing, never demanding. Adaeze replied politely, briefly, respectfully. He came to see his son once every few months, always supervised, always civil. During one visit, Kine toddled toward him, curious. "You look like Mama," Chidi said softly, crouching. Kine stared, then laughed. Chidi's eyes filled. "He does not know me." "He will," Adaeze said evenly, "if you stay consistent." Chidi nodded. "I will." Consistency, Adaeze had learned, was louder than promises. As Kine grew, so did her work. She built quietly. No flashy announcements, no unnecessary noise. She funded education programs in rural communities. She invested in healthcare infrastructure where women once died quietly. At a board meeting one afternoon, a man leaned back in his chair and said, "You could do less and still be remembered." Adaeze looked at him. "I am not interested in being remembered. I am interested in being useful." The room fell silent. That night she returned home tired. Keen was asleep. She stood by his crib, watching his chest rise and fall. "You saved me," she whispered. "You do not know it yet, but you did." Not because of the money, because of the timing, because of the truth his existence revealed. Sometimes she thought of her mother. She remembered her distance differently now, not as absence, but as preparation. "You knew," Adaeze said once, alone in her bedroom. "You knew he might leave. You knew I would need to stand alone first." There was no answer, only peace. Chidi watched her from afar, learning his lessons the slow way. He rebuilt his life carefully this time. No rushing, no shortcuts. He stopped chasing appearances and started asking better questions of himself. One evening he sat alone and spoke out loud, though no one was listening. "I thought love was what you keep when everything is stable," he said. "I learned too late it is what you protect when it is not." He never asked Adaeze for another chance. He understood now that some doors close without anger, without cruelty, simply because they must. Years later, Adaeze agreed to one interview, just one. The host smiled politely. "Many people say your story is about revenge." Adaeze shook her head. "It is not." "Then what is it about?" the host asked. She thought for a moment. "Timing," she said, "and the danger of leaving too early." The host leaned forward. "Do you believe your ex-husband regrets his decision?" Adaeze did not smile. "Regret is private. I hope he learned. That is enough." When the interview aired, messages poured in. Women, men, people who had left too soon, people who had stayed too long. Adaeze read a few, then put her phone down. At home, Kene tugged at her dress. "Mama, come." She followed him to the living room where he pointed at a drawing. "This is us," he said proudly. She knelt. The picture was crude. Two stick figures, one taller, one smaller, holding hands. She hugged him tightly. "Yes," she said, "this is us." And in that moment she felt something settle fully inside her. Not victory, not triumph, but completion. If you stayed with this story until the end, take a second to like this video. It helps these stories reach the people who need them. Subscribe for more quiet, powerful stories about choices, patience, and the paths we do not see until it is too late. And in the comments, tell us your thoughts. Was his mistake leaving, or was it failing to wait? You know, some inherit money, others inherit wisdom, and only one of them lasts. Share your thoughts. Do you believe people deserve second chances when timing reveals the truth too late? Because sometimes life does not punish us. It just teaches us slowly. And sometimes the door that closes was never meant to reopen.